I'd like to introduce you to RepelIT.com or Repelit.com if you prefer to call it that way. It's a much more powerful environment. I'll jump right into how you can quickly get started for free. Just click on Start Coding here. If you click Sign Up here in the top right, it does the same thing. Once you click Start Coding, you just click Continue with Google. Is the fastest way to get started. So if you're already signed into your Gmail, it'll take you right to the screen where you can create an account. And then the next step for you, now once you've done that, you can just click in the section that says Create Python, or you can go here and click on Create REPL, and it'll give you an option. You just select Python from the list. You can give it a title, and from there it's pretty simple to start your code. So demo 5, let me just give this a random name, and then you create the REPL. The REPL is just going to create a working environment space that you can use to type your code. You don't have to worry about killing consoles as you do with Python Anywhere, so you can do some work really fast without having to be switching on all of that stuff. Okay, so we're going to be starting out. Alright, so we'll be starting out with looking at the whole matter of what are conditions. Now, we have a range of conditions that we're going to be looking at. I have some pre-typed here for you. If you want to follow this program using Python Anywhere, as I'm doing now, you can do that. And it will also equally work if you use the same code in Repelit.com. But whichever one of the environments you use, you'll be able to run the code and get the same results, okay? Alright, so let me go ahead and introduce this topic. So in looking at this whole idea of conditionals, we're looking at Boolean expressions. If you have access to the textbook, Think Python 2nd edition, in the Boolean expressions in chapter 5.2 tells you about statements that give you either a true or false value. So let's look at an example quickly. Now this first statement says print 20, but what is this double equal sign? Well, this is the equality operator. So if I run this file, the environment will load up, and it should give me the answer true, because this is testing for equality and 20 is equal to 20. So notice it prints true. There was a placeholder there called equality, so we could know what part of the code we were running. Now I've commented out the others so that they would not run at the same time, so we can isolate them. So let me go ahead and comment this code so that it doesn't run again. If you're running this in RepelIT, you just click run at the top here, and you'd get the result over here. So you see it prints true just the same. Alright, so I'm going to uncomment the second line now so it will become active, and this is going to be the not equal to operator. So again, this is part of the expressions that can be created when you use any of these operators. As you can see, we have 5 of them to look at. So let's run this and see what it does. So 20 is not equal to 30. That's definitely true. So the exclamation equal is a not equal operator. Let's go ahead and comment this to hide it, and go to the next line and uncomment that one. Alright, you would want to type the examples, of course. So let's go ahead and run this. The less than operator prints true because 20 is less than 50. Now note that if I were to change this to make this bigger than 50, let's say 60, we'd get the printing of false. So the values that we're going to get for our condition is either going to be true or false, alright? But I've set all the conditions that they will print true based on what the values are. Let's go to the 4th one. So I'll comment this to keep it invisible from the program, and let me uncomment this section here. Now we have the less than or equal to operator. So this one is a bit tricky because it has 2 operators involved. Let's run this one and see what it does. It prints true because 20 is less than 25. Now what if it were, say, 25 and we run it? What would we get? It still says true because although 25 is not less than 25, obviously, it is equal to 25. So it tests those 2 sides of it, okay? If I went a step further and say this was 26, then when we run this, you see it will give us false because it's no longer equal to, it's now greater than. Okay, but let's put it back to 20 where it was before and run it again. So we'll see that, you know, it gives us the same result as the less than. Alright, so let's comment this to keep it invisible from the rest of the program, and uncomment this next section here and see what it does. Okay, so print 20 greater than 10. It should print true because 20 is greater than 10. So it's just a reversal of the greater than, of the less than, I should say, function, right? And let's look at the final one, which is greater than or equal to. And when we run this program, because 20 in this case is it's not greater than, but it is equal to 20, it will print true. So it print 20 greater than or equal to 20. The condition evaluates to true because it's equal to 20. So if it was greater than, it would be true. So if I change this, say, to 40, it's going to print true. Alright, so a quick test now. How could we make this print false? Well, all we'd have to do is simply make sure that it's not greater than or equal to 20. So we could say something like 19. And then 19 is not greater than or equal to 20, so that would print false. Alright, so I hope that gives you a good understanding of how the conditional statements can evaluate to either true or false. Now, we're going to look at the important idea of making decisions with these conditions, okay? And this is where we're going to introduce the if statement. So if we look at, let's look at this using REPL-IT. It's going to be the same kind of idea. So if we look at this function here, it starts out with the word if and then a condition. Let's use one of these conditions that we have here. So let's say, let's use the last one, 20 greater than or equal to 20. I'm going to put a colon at the end of the condition section there. And then we're going to say print the number is greater than or equal to 20. Alright, now let me run this. And as you can see, it prints the statement, but you're saying, what's the big deal? That's nothing fancy. Alright, so let's come out of the block because the indentation is where the block runs from. So that's why you indent this line here to make it a part of the if block. Let's say we had another statement that says print good, let's say goodbye from this program. Now let's see what happens here. Alright, it prints the number is greater than or equal to 20, goodbye from this program. Alright, over in our console, right? If we did this in Python anywhere, we'll get the same results. Alright, just helping those with possible transition, those who might possibly want to transition from one code editor or the other. So it's the same result. I'm just showing you here that it doesn't matter which code editor you use as long as you follow the correct rules. Now, if we look at this carefully, it printed both statements, but what if we made this false? So let's make this, change this number to 30. So now 30, no, to make it false, actually we need to make it smaller, sorry, my bad. So let's make it 10. So 10 is not greater than or equal to 20, so it's going to be false. Let's see what happens here. When we run the program, all it says is goodbye from this program, okay? Actually, I had it print in the top line here. So let me comment this out so that it doesn't confuse us, and run the program again. Okay, notice it skipped the line here. It skipped this line that says the number is greater than or equal to 20. And it went straight to print the line that says goodbye from this program because the if block did not evaluate to true. Because it did not evaluate to true, then we skip this section. Now this brings us to another interesting point about the if statement. We can actually have a branch, okay? So we can say elif obviously the number is less than 20. So if this works, it should only print, I left the condition out, if 10 is less than 20. This gives us an alternative, right? So this is a branch. Let's run it and see what it does. So it skips, so not only does it skip the first section that says a number is greater than or equal to 20, it prints the last section. Obviously the number is less than 20. So if you take a note in the Think Python 2nd edition book by Downey, you'll see here that you have something that's called a chained conditional. So when you use elifs, so you join multiple conditions together, one after the other, that's called a chained conditional, alright? So you want to pay attention to that. So let's try using the else statement, because that's another way that we can get a condition to be checked. So without using another condition, we just say else, because it's either true or false, right? So this is another way that you can use the if function with just a single condition to start off and make a branch of at least one option. Okay, if it's not true, it must be false. The top line is going to be true, the second line is going to be false. So if the statement is true, it prints the top line. If the statement is false, it prints the second line. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, we have a syntax error. Let's just correct this. Okay, we left off the colon, so let's add that in there and run the program. Alright, it gives us the same result, okay? So there's no need for us to add a second condition if we just have, say, just two options, true or false. Okay? Now we can also have a combination of if, elif, and else. So we can have it like this. We can have elif 10 less than 20, and then we can say else. Alright, so let's change this from being greater than or equal to and just greater than, and then for this statement here we'll print this must mean the number is equal to 20. Because here are the options here. If the number is greater, it's going to print this line. If the number is less than, it will print this line. Then if it's not greater than or less than, the only other option that's left is for it to be equal to. So if we run this program here, it says obviously the number is less than 20. So let's make it equal now and see what happens. And let's go ahead and run. Now what this shows us here is that it's only going to evaluate the first true statement. Okay, so the problem that we're having here is that this was false. So because this was false here, it skipped that and then it went to this elif. Okay, so let's make this false, and let's also make this false and see if it prints the final line, which is what we want it to do. So let's make this 30. Alright, and let's run this program. Okay, so I have a capital P here. We have to be careful with errors like these, so I'm leaving this in the video so you can see. If you're debugging, look out for common mistakes like that, okay? Alright, so it prints the final line. This must mean the number is equal to 20. And the reason why it did this is because the first two lines were false. So remember, okay, so this line was false, and this line was also false. And that's why it only had this to display or print. So it always uses the first statement that evaluates to true and works with that. So if we look back at the text here, we can see that you can use a combination of elifs, and you can have as many elif branches as you want. But let's look at this thing called nested conditionals. So nested conditionals, this is how they work. Alright, let's comment, let me just comment this out. Alright, so the nested condition would look something like this. If, let me create a variable called age. So age equal 17. If age greater than 17, and what we're going to do is we're going to say if let's see, trained, let's say, okay, job equal yes. So we have a variable here to compare. Job is equal to yes. So notice here I've stacked one conditional in the true segment, in the true branch of the first one. Remember right here we had a print statement. This time we have an if statement in the section that would be the true branch. So this second or nested condition is tested if the first one is true. And then it can have its own branch, okay? So what we can have is something like print you can purchase a car. Alright, and then of course we can just close this off with an else and say else print please wait until you are ready. Alright, and then let's come out of the entire block. Now it's important to realize that this else statement belongs to this if function, okay? So let's come out of that entire block and say try again next time. Alright, so let's try this and see how it gives us the results. So let's run this here. Alright, let's just work on fixing this syntax error. So we have it saying that if job equal yes, invalid syntax. Okay, so we'll just fix that. Okay, so what I was missing here was the colon, so we have to watch out for mistakes like that can happen. And let me run the program. Okay, still have an error this time on line 36. Okay, I also forgot the colon here, so let me go ahead and run it now. Alright, it says try again next time. Okay, now let's check and see what's happening here. Okay, this statement here is not typed correctly either. So if age greater than 17, it would say yes, you can purchase a car. The age is exactly 17, so it was false, and that's why it did not allow us to purchase a car. Alright, let's make the person 18 and see what happens to them now. So let's run this program, and it says you can purchase a car, but it also says try again next time. So we didn't want it to say try again next time. So what we could do is we could put this as a part of our condition. So what we can say here, if the age is greater than 17, then it's going to print all this. So yes, you're going to purchase a car, please wait until you're ready. And then we can say here, print, you can put it here, try again next time. Alright, let's run this and see how it works. Okay, it's not going to do this because we are actually ready, but let's make the person younger than 17 once again. Let's say 16, and let's run this. Okay, so 16 is not greater than 17, so it would skip this entire block and not print anything. Okay, so it only checks this block once we have that age over 17. But I hope you understand how the basic idea of the nested function works. So what is happening here is that this entire block here is seen as the true section of this if statement here. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to come back here and then say something like else out here, which belongs to this top statement here, and then say something like, dude, you are just not ready yet. Alright, now let's run this again. And of course it says, dude, you are just not ready yet because, hey, he's only 16. Alright, so practice with this code, try it out yourself, and see how you get different results when you change the values around. But the important thing to understand is that once you have a condition that's one of the branches right below a first condition, is considered to be nested. Okay, so the first branch is a simple statement as you see here, and the second branch contains another if statement, just the same as we had here. This is the first if statement, so we could say here first if statement, and then we can say here second or nested if statement. So always take a good look at the differences in how they look. Alright, so if you notice up here, we have the chained conditionals and then we have the nested conditionals. Okay, so you'll want to look over some of these examples and try them out for yourself, but now you know the difference between chained conditionals and nested conditionals. All the best in the rest of this section.